Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is a special edition episode that I've been advertising for the last couple of days. Obviously, this weekend was D23. Lots of really good information dropped regarding the MCU and, of course, Star Wars and a ton of Disney Plus stuff that we're going to talk about. And, of course, the raging topic on social media continues to burn bright even 7 days after the announcement. And of course, I'm talking about Spider-Man in or out of the MCU. Who's to blame? Is it Sony? Is it Disney? We're gonna break all of that down. But, of course, the gentlemen that I have with me need a proper BoomStick introduction. So let's get into that right away. I have the absolute pleasure of introducing a lord that exemplifies what it means to be a platinum member. He's a part-time stand-up comedian that deserves his own sitcom. He's the king of statues with more comic knowledge than an entire comic encyclopedia. A retro gamer who knows a thing or two about wheeling and dealing thanks to our good friend, grandfather. He's the muscle of the Iron Lords and a dear friend to the community. I call him brother. You can call him your majesty. Please welcome the beloved King David from the Iron Lords podcast.
Oh, Boom, you make me blush. Thank you so much. Oh, man, I can't wait to get into these topics. Even though you hit me with a million subtext and notes, I'm like, he's at it again. Boom is on his dizzle. I said, so let's get to it, man. Let's do it.
Well, listen, you know what? The only way to do these shows in a proper manner is to learn from people, of course, like the leader of the Iron Lords podcast, Cognito, who really, listening all those years prior to doing my own stuff, saw and learned how you're supposed to, handle these shows. And I do produce them in a manner from a fan's perspective. And I want everyone to be excited just as much as I am writing them. So that's why I send you all those ridiculous notes. I think this one was only about 1,100 words. Not as big as usual, but still a lot of information nonetheless. But we have to talk about our second incredible guest who does have a BoomStick introduction that he did not have last week. Creator of the awesome BitCloud Gaming YouTube channel, which just passed 5,000 subs. He's a diehard gamer, obsessed with gaming, and appreciates the great worlds, characters, and villains he meets in every game he plays. He's the host of the outstanding RGT, which stands for Real Gamer Talk podcast, co-host of the hashtag The Gamer Couch podcast, and permanent member of the hashtag Scumcast and full-time member of the hashtag Spectre. Please welcome BitCloud Gaming.
Well, I feel empowered. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Let's have a good show, man. Let's talk about these awesome introductions that we got at Disney here.
Well, listen, there really is a lot to talk about. Now, D23, as we know, there were two showings. And the second one, where they announced Black Panther, and we'll get into that in a second, didn't seem as important, as of course the one prior, the day before, because we obviously believe, and this has become a thing that I've seen on social media, because Spider-Man was still on the outs or the ins, they couldn't make any official announcements. And from what we understand, Spider-Man was going to play a huge part in Phase 5. Unfortunately, depending on who you like, whether you blame Sony, whether you blame Disney, whether you're somewhere in the middle, we're going to break it all down and what the ramifications of that. But first, I want to talk about the actual MCU Phase 4 announcements. Now, there is a lot to really discuss because 3 particular shows were announced that I don't think anyone saw coming. Now, there's been rumblings of them, but no one knew for sure. And we were all under the impression that what they showed at Comic-Con in San Diego in July was the complete Phase 4 that included, of course, the films that we're all going to go see and the Disney Plus shows. Well, in absolutely surprising move, they announced She-Hulk, the series, which I still can't believe. They released, they announced Miss Marvel, which I think is going to be fantastic. And of course, Moon Knight, which I don't think anyone thought they were going to do, but many people wanted. BitCloud, I want to go to you first on these 3 announcements. What were your thoughts when they were announced?
Well, they talked about adding diversity a long time ago about to the MCU. So Miss Marvel, I mean, that didn't really shock me as much, right? I kind of figured they would do that eventually, but it was good to see her. I think Moon Knight was the one that made me go, holy crap, like I wasn't expecting that at all. So that was a cool one. She-Hulk threw me through a loop too. So I don't know what they're going to do with She-Hulk. Maybe they'll replace Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, or they're going to build on with Mark Ruffalo's version of Hulk. Because remember, well, I was like, I don't want to go into spoiler territory, but you know, you guys know what happens in Endgame, you know, in certain things. So I'm wondering if that's their cop out to kind of make, you know, certain things at full, you know what, going in the future films. So I thought it was good though. I want to see who's going to be cast.
You're nice. You said you're not going to get into spoilers. You're nice. I'm going to go into those spoilers.
Well, you go ahead, because if you haven't seen Endgame yet, shame on you. Let me just say that.
That's exactly my point. Yeah, go for it, man, because I'm here for your knowledge, brother. So I definitely want to hear come on, let's get it.
All right, so since She-Hulk's been introduced, right, let's go back to Endgame. Remember in Endgame, Hulk used the Infinity Gauntlet. He snapped his fingers. He brought everybody back. However, he was severely injured in the process, you know? So I'm not sure if that's their cop-out with She-Hulk, where they're going to need another Hulk. Because remember, like in the battle between Hulk and Avengers and Thanos' army, you really don't see much of Hulk afterwards, right? You see him on the battlefield fighting some minions, but you don't necessarily see him in his typical, you know, Hulk smash form. It's kind of like he was just severely hurt from the situation. So I'm wondering if that is like long-term permanent damage for Hulk, and that's why they need another one.
It is long-term permanent damage. The Russos talked about that exact thing inside some of the deleted scenes and stuff like that. And if you guys run out and purchase, and I suggest you do, go out and buy the Endgame movie on Blu-ray, or download it or whatever. Make sure you get the bonus pack, because it gives you a lot of insight behind the thought process going into a lot of things. We come in with comic book knowledge, but these guys are trying to do it in a 16:10 reality for these.
Right, everything from a comic. Because remember, comics are flushed out. There's like hundreds of comics, that's why you got so much detail in comics and worlds. Movies, it takes a lot. Like you had to take a lot of inspiration. And most of these movies nowadays, they don't really go all out with a lot of comics. They might keep a few very, very popular ones in the future for future films. Like, for example, look at The Dark Knight. Remember The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger? They literally just copied The Killing Joke, but did their own version of The Killing Joke with The Dark Knight. So that's basically what you'll get. But yeah, like the Infinity Gauntlet, you guys already know it takes a lot out of you. Thanos nearly killed himself just destroying the damn things.
Yes.
He looked like Scarface when he just tried to destroy it. So he literally nearly killed himself just destroying the gauntlet. And it happens. Like that's the thing. That's the reality of it. Like the stones are very, very strong, but I'm thinking maybe it's Tony's design of the Infinity Gauntlet. Because remember, there was only one guy who can legit make a perfect vessel to harness those stones without necessarily killing the user, and I think that was I forgot his name, but you guys know the guy from Game of Thrones plays him. I always forget his name in the MCU, but look at Tony. Tony died immediately, as soon as he did the snap.
Yeah.
So, it's
Do you want me to Okay, I'll find out if you finish first. We got.
You sound like you got a bit of an echo, King.
Oh no, he's fine.
Oh, okay.
It's not. Yeah, it's not on my end. It's somebody's TV's up a little bit. All right. So are you finished, Bit? Because I mean, all right. So when I saw the stuff coming up, right, and I looked at the panel, so we already knew about the first half and the first slates, right? So we already came up with our little synopsis for what they're gonna do with that stuff. And like Bit said, going in, Marvel always wanted diversity. First of all, and first and foremost, if you looked at Endgame, you saw the whole A team. That's the female lineup of the Avengers. Later on in the comic books, what actually comes to pass, you know. So you have Rescue, Tony Stark's wife, Pepper Pot, and you have other females like Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, and a lot of female characters being emboldened and empowered. And I think that's very important going forward, because with the Wonder Woman movement, we had that stuff in the past and we need that stuff now. So I think that's very important. So we knew Miss Marvel is a no-brainer because she's a Muslim teenager, and she's really trending in the comic books with millennials at this point in time. So she's a hot commodity. And the snap. Let me go to where Bit was talking about the snap. Now, when the snap was made, the Infinity Gauntlets gave off a ton of gamma radiation. That's the reason why the Hulk was the logical choice. Like he said, he was born for this, because the radiation that's being given off from the gauntlet was gamma radiation. This is how they allow you to believe that. This is why it's in like a 1610 universe. When I say 1610 universe, that's the two worlds that we'll be talking about here, because there's a 616 and there's a 610. 616 is what we grew up on. 610 is the ultimate universe from the MCU, is based on the 1610 universe. Okay, so now that the Hulk is using his snap and absorbing the gamma radiation, the reason why he took a bigger hit than Thanos was Thanos, over a period of time, grew an immunity to the stones because he caught them one at a time and he placed them. The Hulk grabbed all the stones all at one time and took in all the radiation all at one time. That's why his arm is completely useless. Even though we know he has regenerative powers, the only thing that's keeping him alive is the fact that he merged Banner with the Hulk to move forward.
Yep. Double the person.
Exactly. So now you have the She-Hulk. We all know that She-Hulk is the cousin of the Hulk. She got a blood transfusion. She turns into the She-Hulk. I don't know how they're going to work inside this universe, but in the comic books now, the She-Hulk takes the place of the Hulk, because you have the Immortal Hulk storyline that's going on now. So she actually takes the place of the Hulk, which they might use because the diversity part Bit Cloud was talking about.
Yep.
Right? Now we have a female Hulk. I was the most proud of, because I love the character more than a ton of other characters. He has multiple personalities. Moon Knight.
Yeah.
You know what? What's great, King, is that, and I'll let you get back to your point, the fact that they're touching on someone with mental illness, man, that takes balls. Pardon my French.
It takes huge cojones to get to that part, because you're going to be talking about stuff that affects a segment of our populace.
Yes.
And they're going to tackle us head on, because in the comic books, they don't shy away from the fact that he has multiple personality disorder. And in it's complete separate personalities. Okay?
Yeah. And they actually have an outlet to make Iron Man come back. 'Cause remember, Iron Man is female now in the comics, is he not?
Yes, that's Ironheart. That's
Ironheart. So they can bring his daughter into the mix with this and have her be the next, Iron Man. But because you already know, Gwyneth Paltrow, who plays Pepper Potts, she's done. She's not coming back.
She's finished. She's her contract is up. How you get Moon Knight? All right, now you got to look at the slate and when they're coming out. Blade will usher in Moon Knight for this simple reason. Moon Knight was brought forth with Wolf by Night. Werewolf by Night is a direct correlation to the Blade universe. Vampires, werewolves, and zombies and such and such. So that character to debut inside the MCU's Blade movie and then you're gonna have Moon Knight fight Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
Well, and on the TV shows, because remember they said these TV shows intersect with each other as with the movies. So no longer will we have a city filled with Avengers flying around and Defenders on the ground, and they're not talking about it. You know, that was the problem with Netflix. Everybody's upset when Netflix canceled these shows, but these shows needed to be canceled in order to be incorporated.
Yes. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you know, you have to look at what Netflix did. Now, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people, and you called this, a really good point. A lot of people were angry at Netflix, but Disney's doing their own Disney Plus streaming service. So it obviously, we knew eventually that these characters were going to be moved from there. At some point or another, we all knew anything Disney was being pulled off of Netflix, right? I mean, that was, I mean, I think that's standard fare. So there's a two-year cooling off period for these characters. I gotta be honest with you. I have heard that they want to recast. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hope that they don't, because the current cast, and I mean that's top to bottom. Even Danny Rand, you know his, you know what I'm saying, like even that character, if done correctly, and he trains the way people are supposed to train when you take on a role.
He can't, Boom. He can't.
Okay, so all right. So you know what? I'm trying to be the gentleman here. You know what? Recast him. Okay, fine. But the point is that if
they
they
on the rating for some of these characters like Blade.
What was that? I'm sorry, BitCloud.
Oh, so did they even give the rating for how the movie is going to be?
You know what? They didn't talk about. We don't know nothing about Blade past the Kevin Feige announcement at the end. We don't know whether or not it's going to be rated R. The only thing we do know, and that has been confirmed by Kevin Feige himself, is that no rated R Marvel shows are going to be on Disney Plus, which is probably where the Ghost Rider comes in to Hulu, and that's the odd man out here that wasn't announced in a proper manner, in my opinion, because Hulu is going to host, which is owned by Disney. People don't know, is going to host all of the rated R or the heavier content, meaning more violent content for Marvel. And we know the Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, if you don't know, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that Robbie Reyes, that actor is going to reprise his role as Ghost Rider, which I think is an amazing cast. I loved him there, and you know, I think he's going to do fantastic, and I really want to see if they're going to bring into focus the Midnight Suns. Obviously, if you don't know who they are, they're actually going to be, the Midnight Suns are going to be coming to Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I believe it's in September. It's the first of the DLC packs, which I believe that includes Moon Knight, Blade, and there are two other characters that I just for some reason escaped my mind.
Yeah, they're the darker characters on the Marvel universe. There's the Marvel Knights. It was a comic book line with the Punisher, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, Blade, all the rated R, all the mature content. That stuff would be done by Hulu, because remember, Hulu compared to Netflix is losing in the battle, right? So how do you bolster the Hulu catalog? Well, by removing those characters from Netflix and taking those successful shows, as far as Jessica Jones and stuff like that, you remove those characters and you place them onto Hulu. Now, that fan base is automatically going to gravitate towards it. Now, I don't know if you keep the same characters or the actors playing these characters going forward with Misty Knight and so on, but I'm pretty sure if they can work out a deal, definitely come back and be on Hulu. Remember, they didn't get a chance to cast all of these guys going forward. They had recommendations. Kevin Feige looked over it, but it wasn't like a whole Marvel Universe type of casting call that, on with every Marvel Universe character. Some of these characters was miscast. Danny Rand, I'm sorry to say, I defended it as much as I possibly can. Anchorman, I'm bowing. I'm taking a knee to you, sir. He was probably miscast in that role.
Well, he obviously didn't do what he was supposed to. You got to remember, when you take on these roles, I mean, I don't know, maybe because I'm not an actor, right? I'm not part of the Actors Guild. I'm just a podcaster, so what the hell do I know, right? But I know, I can tell you this, from the little production, and I mean little because I'm not doing massive production for these shows. I mean, there's so much more that I probably could do when it comes to OBS, where there's things exploding on the screen like crazy. And my podcast, I like to bring the knowledge. So I produce the shows with the proper documentation and the research that goes behind it. Okay, so but again, I take this stuff like super, super serious. When he was playing the character of Iron Fist, it never seemed as if he really cared about playing the role of the Iron Fist, meaning that he didn't, at least it appeared, he didn't have the same training as all of the other actors around him. Like I think it's safe to say that even in the Defenders, he seemed out of place there. Am I wrong for saying that?
Yeah. Even though he is probably the most powerful defender, well, street level defender. There's a separate level of defenders, okay? If you're going with the 616 knowledge of the characters, the defenders is comprised of Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, the Hulk, and Valkyrie. Characters are beyond reproach, okay? You cannot outpace the Hulk in strength. You can't outpace Submariner switched with either Valkyrie or Valkyrie with Submariner, back and forth usually, with ferocity, and you damn sure can't stop Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is really one of the alpha omega characters inside the Marvel universe. But to street level defenders, what they were working with, they gave you Danny Rand, they gave you Luke Cage, what is this, Daredevil, and who was the last part of the Defenders?
It wasn't Jessica. It wasn't
Jessica, right?
Yeah, I don't think it was Jessica.
Yeah, she was never really part. She was just part of that whole little. Well, she was there.
She's part of the universe. She wasn't really part.
Yeah, she's part of the universe. He ran, because he's one of my favorite characters. Really look at who's one of the best fighters. Sun-Chi is probably the biggest, the best fighter in the Marvel universe. With Danny Rand coming in part number 2, he is literally the lethal hand in the MCU. Combine that with a punch that he could punch a hole straight through damn near anybody's body. Possible to beat. And I never got that coming across when he was. Lord Cognito told me he's getting beat up by sub characters in the street. That's not supposed to happen. And I tried to defend it all the way through, and they were right. Completely right, 100%. So he was supposed to be exactly who Boom wanted him to be. And did he gravitate to the role? Was it the script? Was it a bad script? Could be. He's supposed to be that supreme bad behind dude that walks in the room and can beat everybody in the room. And he wasn't.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, I'm going to say this. Look, all I can say is that the door has been opened in a way that, we have to look back to Marvel movies in the early 2000s, right? In the very late 90s, right? Right? When we saw those films, we all went to see them. The Hulk on TV, the Hulk when he met, the Thor that they imagined for TV. When we used to see Spiderman on the Electric Company, right? Like, people don't remember that. That's, I bet people don't even know who Spider-Man on the Electric Company from the 70s was. That was Morgan Freeman, OPS, by the way. Yes. People don't remember that. I remember that because I used to sit there in complete awe. As a child wearing underoos, which if you don't know what that is, you're probably not as old as me. They were basically superhero underwears for kids. And of course I had those. And, superheroes for me, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, okay? But growing up a superhero fan, growing up reading all of the comics that I did, I used to sit in my room on my bed with my legs crossed, reading every issue. Was what drove me to become a police officer. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that was the driving force. That and G.I. Joe, believe it or not. Those two entities are what made me want to serve the people of this great country, as well as to be a beacon of good. I know it sounds like, wow, Boom, you're really taking it to another level, but
superhero comics inspire you to want to make a difference.
Yes, and that's a great point, and that's a great point, and that's what it did for me. So, as a 48-year-old man who's going to be 49 next month in September, wow. I cannot believe what we are seeing on the screen. Like it is really unbelievable to see the transformation from the electric company Spider-Man that didn't even talk, that used to just look up and words would bubble popping up, right? Okay, where he fought a wall, a guy in a baseball stadium made of a wall. You remember that episode? Because I certainly do. Okay,
yes.
And to what we're getting now is truly magic. It is unbelievable to think that we can see. I mean, when you look at Endgame, I just want you to know, I don't know how many times anyone in the chat has seen it. I don't know how many times anyone on the panels. I've seen it 8 times, stop front to back. 8 times so far.
I've seen it about 3 times.
I will watch that movie time and time again, because there are some things that happen in that movie that just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. I'm just going to say Captain America and something that he was holding. If you didn't see the film, I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah, but that actually, it didn't give me goosebumps. Well, okay, when that certain song played. But the scene, it really did feel like a heavy burden was just being, over it. It was like, that's just the payoff for it.
Me personally, and I'm gonna blow it up for you because he picks up Thor's hammer.
I mean, listen, people have seen it on the TV already. You know what I'm saying?
You can't really unsee it now. Even when they talked about the DVDs or whatever, he literally says "Avengers Assemble" and he calls it. So
that's right.
Look. Let me just say this. It is. We are very blessed as fans to have this available to us. And what I want to kind of move on to that was really broken down to is we had no idea what was going to happen with What If. Now, some people may not understand the ramifications of that actual comic. I actually owned the entire first run of What If. I mean, there were some amazing stories, and what was confirmed for us as fans, and what was confirmed to the people attending D23, I didn't see coming, but it makes a lot of sense. And what they announced was there's going to be 23 episodes of What If. Now you say, well, why 23? Well, here is where it gets great. Okay? Because it's being done in a cartoon form, which, by the way, is supposed to be amazing. I haven't seen any graphics of it, but I heard that they showed a piece of it, and they actually showed Captain America as a zombie, because, there's Marvel Zombies, versus Winter Soldier, and they said it was amazing. What's amazing about the number 23 is that each episode of What If is going to take a different look at one of the current 23 MCU films. All of the cartoons that are going to be shown are going to be in succession of the actual movies that have come out. So you're going to get a what if something happened in Endgame that didn't happen. You're going to get a what if Iron Man 2 if he really met the real Mandarin or whatever. The first episode, first episode is supposed to be what if Peggy Carter got the super serum and she becomes Captain Britain. And
Captain America. Well, Steve Rogers gets there late.
Yeah, he gets there late. I think he winds up getting the Iron Man suit from Tony's father,
Howard Stark's
suit. So listen, I'm going to go right to King because I could tell you're jumping at the bit to jump into this. Please talk about this unbelievable feat that was displayed this weekend.
Okay, I can never understate how proud I am of everyone that's inside the MCU that has creative control, because these people are me. They were Boom. laying on his bed with his feet crossed, reading his comic books, same way I was across the city in New York or wherever you were back then, picking up that brand new 25-cent comic book. And What If got announced. And it was What If Thor was a woman. And that's that first, run happened there. And the Watcher will always give you a lookout over the 616 universe and tell you what if Spiderman never stopped the bank robber and stuff like that. And you would read these books in amazement, knowing that they were, encapsulated little episodes that you could read from beginning to end and has a different spin, and you have a greater appreciation for what actually happened in the comic books, because 9 times out of 10 it doesn't go well for your hero. So the fact that Steve Rogers got there late, Peggy gets the super soldier serum, becomes Captain Britain, because remember, she's British. All right, she becomes Captain Britain. We get Captain Britain in the Marvel universe. Steve Rogers is still there, and he probably talks to Howard Starks, and he doesn't get the shield, but what he gets is more invaluable. He becomes the Iron Monger, type of Iron Man suit, like the prototype.
Yeah.
Right. And we have a different take on the Avengers going forward. And I can't wait to dig into every 23 episodes of this, because I want to know what happens when they said, Star-Lord is crossed over with the Black Panther, and they become the Guardians of the Galaxy. I want these stories because, like Boom said, and we've watched and we've yearned for us to be in control, and now we're getting what we begged for as children on the screen.
Yes.
So this is fantastic, and I want to hear from 8-Bit, because it's really crazy. I want to know from his age and his perspective, how does he view this stuff? Because was comic books big with you? Tell me, how do you see this stuff?
Well, I was big in the TV shows, and I did own a lot of the comics. My father would bring them, over every now and then when. Because he had a good collection in his old house before he passed away. So he had a good collection of comics, and I read quite a bit. But the announcement right now, you said it's going to be done in a animated style, right?
Yes.
If it's going to be done in the animated style, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of wouldn't mind if it being done. You guys remember that old show, Teen Titans?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that original, not that garbage one that we got now. I'm talking the old school style. If they can do it in that particular style, that type of artistic vision, I think this could be amazing even more if they can capture it in that type of detail. But as far as like the what if scenarios, again, Captain Britain, you got the prototype Ironmonger with Captain America. That's pretty insane. But what else could we possibly be seeing? Like what if they did what if Killmonger didn't die and Black Panther?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. What if he was the king of Wakanda?
Exactly. What if he was actually, matter of fact, let's add on to that. What if when he dethroned T'Challa, he was king longer than what he was given?
Crazy.
Remember, he was only king for a day.
Yeah, literally a day.
A day. He was only king for a day because T'Challa was severely injured. But if he was king longer, what they could have done, and I kind of thought they missed an opportunity with that with Black Panther. They could have literally redone the comic for Killmonger's rise, where he literally pretty much destroyed Wakanda and made it in his own image. Y'all remember that? He made it like this crazy government in a sense.
Yeah, it was almost like a mercenary-based government.
Yeah, he was not playing around. He ruled it like an iron fist. So basically everything. The panther that you guys see, that iconic panther on top of the mountain, was taken away. It was I think it was a leopard. I think that's what it is, right? It's a leopard or a cheetah. Things like a cheetah. Yeah. But he changed everything around. So, they could have did something like that, but they didn't really do it. They kind of just went, he's dead. They killed him off. It's like, this is...
We assume he's dead. We assume
I think they confirmed he's dead, because I don't think Michael B. Jordan's got another movie in his contract or anything. But
you know what? They could bring him back. I still think that he's going to come back in a way. You know what? Real quick, I have to say thank you twice for 2 outstanding and very generous super chats from the Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. You know him as the host, Enrique. He says, Lord King, love your comic book knowledge. And then he follows with I'd love to see Alpha Flight return. Yeah, Alpha Flight would be dope to return to the MCU, maybe in Phase 5. But you know what? Besides What If, I want to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Out of all the series announced, that's probably I'm most excited for. And I know that King may disagree with me, but I like Sam as Captain America. I'm just saying. And supposedly, though, he's not going to be Captain America because the government doesn't want him to be. And again, before any nonsense gets thrown out there with it's all because of his race, because I know it's coming. It's actually not that. The reason why they don't want Sam to be or the Winter Soldier, for that matter, to be the captain, hold the Captain America name, because they were fugitives. They went against the Accords. And what we found out, which is pretty interesting, is I'm not sure if you guys know a show that's on AMC called Lodge 49, right? Well, Kurt Russell's son is the lead star there. He has been cast as U.S. agent for this show. So there's some big governmental ramifications post-snap return and what the government still thinks about Captain America, Bucky Barnes, and of course Sam Wilson.
So we're waiting to revisit. Oh wow, this
streaming offline.
Oh
and
no!
You just got sorry for it was discussed, but I was late. What do you think about it?
Things come back on now. I think. Well, let's see.
There we go. Yes, folks. Sorry for the slight hiccup. Once again, this is OBS. This is the world that, unfortunately, a producer of content is always fearful of. We are back live. King, before I get your opinion on this, because you're the reason why I love having you on here, besides you're my brother and someone that I really look up to as a human being, your comic knowledge is just, my God, it's not to be believed. But I have to thank Sin Vendetta, who is always in the chat. Dude, thank you. Your generosity just is leaps and bounds above what I believe I deserve. Thank you for the outstanding $10 super chat. He says, I'm sorry that if this was discussed, but I was a little late. What do you guys think of classic Aladdin? Oh, you know what, dude? No. We're going to talk about this for a hot second. In a second, let me just get King Sing. Classic Aladdin and Lion King NES Genesis games being remastered in 1080p. Listen. I'm going to let you know right now. Boom has pre-ordered. Whenever it becomes available for pre-order, I'm buying both those games because I love them. I don't care about I'm a nerd. I'm buying both those games. But King,
I think the stream is about to go in a second. Doing a little thing right now. Okay, he's back. All right. So listen, let's talk about that real quick with Sin Vendetta. Sin Vendetta. If you haven't noticed, if you follow me on Twitter, I actually have an arcade machine that has those games inside, and I've been playing it at 1080p for a minute. So, I think that's a great thing, and I'm trying to get Boom away from that pre-order and trying to get him into where I'm at. So,
what is about arcade cabinet? By like a big. How much you pay for those arcade games? No things like
$3,000 for this one. It has 6,900 games. Everything is customized. I picked every color. I picked every decal. I picked every logo. I even picked the spin. I picked everything down to the.
It looks insane. I ain't gonna lie. When you showed it, I was like, damn, that looks really, really insane. So
it's absolutely fun. I'm down for that whole bringing back the Genesis and the Super NES games. Yes, remastered. Let everybody get a chance to get that goodness. Okay, now to the Winter Soldier.
I thought you were about to get into the movie. That's why I was like, oh no.
Oh no. I didn't see those. I see those with my children. We get them on 4K Blu-ray when they come out, and we sit down and have a nice day with it. This Winter Soldier, Falcon stuff. Okay, there's ways that they can do it. And if you guys didn't know, the government had took Steve Rogers away from being Captain America. He no longer wanted to be Captain America because he found out what happened in the 616 universe. on with the government, with the level of corruption. You got to understand, a guy with his sensibilities being frozen inside the snow and the ice, and he comes back to this day and age with these type of sensibilities and stuff like this, and he's got to get acclimated to this world. It's a culture shock. It's a complete shock, and the guy is surprised that didn't have PTSD all the way through. But at this point in time, the government, when he threw down the shield and he no longer wanted to be Captain America, the government wanted somebody that they controlled, and they made a guy called the U.S. agent. He didn't have Captain America's shield. He had it for a little bit, and Captain America wrestled it from him, took it from him, because he was unstable. They gave him a super soldier serum that made him an unstable entity.
Yep.
To see that, I would love to see Winter Soldier go up against this unstable Captain America with the help of the Falcon doing this. Is it going to be one of the series that I'm looking forward to? Absolutely not.
That's worthy of a movie, though, don't you think?
Those two characters, they're unlikable.
I think if you have a good, because remember, we kind of, a lot of people said that about the Guardians of the Galaxy. Right? Everybody was like, "Who is these random people? Look at this raccoon. Who are these characters?" They actually fell in love with them.
I'm talking about them as people.
Oh yeah, as people, you don't care. You don't care.
I love Winter Soldier. Those guys as people,
you don't really care what happens outside.
Anthony Mackie, I had an incident with him. I'm not gonna go over it over air. Really don't like him. Really don't care for the dude at all. I really don't think, whatever. That's my personal opinion. And that there was something that happened to me with him. So I'm not saying something sidebar type of thing, but it's just something that happened to me with him that I don't like him as that. And maybe it was something isolated. He could have just got a mosquito bite. I don't care. But how you deal with the public is, that goes a long way.
It certainly does. Absolutely.
Usually you can tell the impact of a character. Like if you just go back to the Infinity War, you can tell the impact of the character as they dissolve away, right? No, let's be real. Let's keep it 100, right? When we first saw these characters get dissolved away, and they became dust, right? When Spiderman got dusted, everybody was like, "Oh my god!" Everybody was like, "Oh my god!" When Groot got dusted, everybody had a reaction,
Yeah.
When Winter Soldier disappeared, there was no reaction. When Falcon disappeared, there was no reaction. So obviously,
dude don't care. Like, you said
you didn't care. You just didn't care as much.
But you said to yourself, if people gotta go, let them go. Don't you
exactly like? Now I know people were making a big deal. I don't know if you saw this, King. Remember how dudes were making a big deal out of was it the Winter Soldier's haircut? It was like, oh, he looks like he did back in the 19 whatever. I'm like, I don't care about his haircut. I don't really care about this stuff. Like, I mean, I do like the new paint job that they did for Falcon's suit. To represent, to kind of like an homage to it's kind of like an homage to the comic, because he did like that in the comic. He did the American flag colors in his suit. So I guess that's a homage to his actual comic, but it also, in a weird way, it's kind of like a reference to Steve Rogers. That's him paying homage to his mentor, Captain America. So, but that's about it. I'm not really like blown away, because everything we've seen from Falcon, we've already seen. We've seen his gadgets. We've seen the new droid thing that he has, right? There's nothing really that he can do that would just surprise you, aside from just doing more acrobatics. But again, that gets boring after a while.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not sure whether it's going to be 6 episodes or 8. I know that there are a total of 8 shows coming to Disney Plus, which I think is just in the fact that you're getting 8 shows that are all going to interconnect with the films, I think is a really big deal. I think the obviously we don't have much to go on She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel. I think they're going to be handled in a proper manner. Hawkeye, I'm very excited to see exactly where that goes. WandaVision, I think, is the one that is, we've heard it's going to be like a sitcom kind of a thing. It's going to be very, very different than what we expect. And of course, that's going to work right into Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, which that in itself is amazing. But you know what? Again, we could spend 3 hours on Marvel, but
I just got one thing to say.
Yeah, please.
Real quick, the rumblings from what I hear, and I got it from a real credible source. Andrew Garfield is supposed to be Moon Knight, and
oh wow, that's great.
Right there I'm so happy. because
Yeah,
I thought he was the best Spider-Man, to be honest with you.
First of all, not only was he a fantastic Spider-Man, I just think he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's great. He knows how to put motion in his roles. It's
Yes.
just, you can't really hate the actor when he's given trash.
Crap. Yes.
To work with. There's only so much you can do when you're given trash. I mean, I don't think anybody can really do a role like even Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland, like we all know, Tom Holland would drown if he had a script like Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, come on.
He probably everyone would have been booing him too, because obviously you can only work with what they give you, right? I mean, you can only do the job based on the tools that is given to you. But listen, obviously, like I said, D23 was a big Marvel event for a lot of reasons. But there was also, we have to talk about Star Wars. Now, I'm a huge Star Wars
fan. Can I just add one more thing before you get to Star Wars?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
More with this. I know we can go over for this. But isn't it kind of weird? Now, y'all remember back in the day when Star Wars first became a thing, because we're going to transition to Star Wars. Remember how when Star Wars became this big, like, cinematic icon?
Yes.
We basically just got that again with Marvel Comics.
I would agree with that. Sure.
That's the same. We basically got that reincarnated with Marvel. This is basically the new coming of age Star Wars for kids and the newer generation of viewers.
Well, I mean, listen, it's funny you say that, Big Cloud, because obviously with Star Wars there are a lot of levels, right? You have old school cats like me and King David who I saw Star Wars in the theater. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about first run Star Wars in the theater, and so did King. My parents took me, and I just sat there in complete awe and amazement of what I was seeing. And you have the generation that grew up with the Clone Wars, and that's their Star Wars, right?
Yep.
And then you have a newer generation, a younger generation, that Rey is their Star Wars. And I think that's when you talk about the Star Wars brand. Listen, whether you hated or loved Episode 8, which a lot of people did not like, and I thought it was okay. Really, that's my thoughts on it. I didn't hate it.
It had a lot of loopholes.
It had a lot of loopholes. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. But I guess because I've been watching Star Wars for 40 years, right? So
just growing accustomed to it.
Yeah, if it's Star Wars, I get excited because it's Star Wars. Well, let me just let's start off with something that a lot of us already known. So I'm sorry. Jon Favreau. Obviously, we know who he is. He obviously brought us Iron Man. He just brought us The Lion King, which if you haven't seen it, was outstanding. Mrs. Boomstick and I saw it a couple of weeks ago. We loved it. But
I like the realistic approach, but I think the problem with making movies like that, like, especially that have made this this crazy impact on us, right, from being animated, it's hard to convey emotion when you use realistic.
Yeah, no, I know. Like it's definitely true where it might be easier to do it through cartoon, but I want to say this. I'm not sure how many people are in the chat are excited for The Mandalorian, but I am going to tell you this. This is one. I put it to this way: if you just told me, boom, you get into Marvel. You're getting the DC. You're getting the Disney catalog. You're getting all their prior films. You're getting the Vault. But we're just going to give you one Star Wars. We're going to give you The Mandalorian. I say rubber stamp. Sign me up for the rest of my being. Okay. But but there's more Star Wars coming. But I want to say this about The Mandalorian. What Jon Favreau has done was and again, this is just based on the trailer. We have to see the we have to say the film. We have to see the shows running. But the 2-minute trailer that they showed, it brought me personally as a moviegoer all the way back to that 7-year-old kid, completely sitting. I sat at the edge of my couch. My wife calls it the fat man syndrome. Well, your tongue sticking out. That was me, and I watched it 6 times because the feeling. You got to remember, if you could, as a producer of content, if you could ignite someone's feelings, whether it be good or bad, you're doing something right. And he ignited my feelings for Star Wars that I haven't had in a really, really long time, because it had that old school 1970s feel to it, but it felt new and interesting and fresh. I have to hear what King has to say. When you saw this trailer, what were your thoughts? And was this along with or everything that we already know coming, the selling point that says I have to get this series?
All right. Well, I'm getting Disney Plus regardless. After I saw exactly what was inside the package, I'm going to pay the $14.99 or the $12.99 for the big package, because I believe it has all the stuff that my family will need. Now, me personally, when they got to the Mandalorian, Killbot, when they showed the Killbot and he was taking everyone out, I said to myself, this is the closest thing I'm going to get to a series of Boba Fett.
Yeah, basically, Bound Hunters, yeah.
Yes. And then when I saw the Chronic Freeze characters that he had in the back that he was selling, that all the bounties that he collected.
Ridiculous.
And it was lines and rows of it. If you understood how hard it was for him, for Boba Fett to grab
Han Solo, right? On his head. He went and he got Han Solo and he froze him in the carbonite. Had at least 10 carbonite rows of people that he had to capture his bounties. And when he handed them in, he was giving him the material to make his armor stronger. So the character that we get in the beginning of the series and going to grow throughout the end of the series and become that ultimate bounty hunter. Yeah. Like Boom said, I'm happy that Disney is not giving you all episodes in one shot so you can burn yourself out real quick on binge watching. Everything is going to be episodic, week to week, and that you have to tune in. That keeps subscriptions locked in, that keeps people around longer because you want to get a chance to see the end of your series. I think that's a great idea going forward, and I cannot wait to every week that must-watch TV is The Mandalorian and anything else Star Wars that has to offer. That's a great point. That's a really, really strong comment about a must-see TV. I mean, we haven't had that at least in Star Wars, because obviously, we haven't had this level of movie quality Star Wars come to the TV box, right? I mean,
exactly.
no one ever would have thought that. I mean, it's the same principle. What we're going to get with Marvel, they're going to be movie quality spending for all series involved, and that really does say something. I mean, BitCloud, I want to get your opinion on this. What were your takeaways from the Mandalorian trailer?
All right, so as someone who absolutely loved Jango Fett and he thought he was criminally underused in the prequels, this is a big deal for me too. Like, I thought it was dope. It was incredible to see what they're going to do. Kind of makes you wonder what else is to come with the character. We got all these detail with it, especially with obviously ready to get into that in a second, but I thought it was good. I thought it really looked good. It was a good reveal for him.
Yeah, I'm interested. Again, we won't have to wait long because obviously I believe it launches on November 12th, if I'm not mistaken, and that's going to be one of the first series that it's going to be available on there. And I think people are, if you have any questions as to how they're going to relate this content, it's not going to be the Netflix style where all of the episodes are dumped. So you can power through it in a day or a day and a half, like my wife and I do. Like when a new series comes on, like The Boys, we watched in a day and a half. You know what I'm saying? Because we love that stuff. So we just ate it up. It was like delicious. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be weekly content. That goes for the Marvel shows as well. And some people may be like, I really don't want to wait. You can always wait for the series to be done. Then it will be available. But I don't think I would have the willpower to miss an episode of said.
Boom. I'm not waiting 23 weeks to get all of What If. I don't give a crap. I'm not doing it. I'm going to watch week to week like I'm supposed to, and I'm going to tune in with the best of them.
Yes.
That says a lot, though, you know? That really does say a lot. They really got you invested. Because
Yes.
usually a lot of these shows nowadays, you would literally go, yeah, I'll wait till the season's done. Then I'll just watch it on like the Fire Stick or something, you know? No, what Disney's done, you just want to watch it. You just can't really help yourself but to check in. You owe it to yourself to check in.
Yeah.
That's how well they built their characters. And that's what you gotta really applaud Marvel as a whole, is their storytelling, you know, for everything.
Yeah.
I just hope that their internet arm, their social media arm, is just as ingenious and intuitive as their movie arm is, because you have to build this up as, did you see? And you know how you have the certain shows, you shut off your phone because you did not want any type of reveal to you, because you didn't get a chance to see Game of Thrones, or you didn't get a chance to see The Sopranos, or you didn't get a chance to see that show that night. And you had to, if you didn't watch it on that day, the next day, you were done for the week, because somebody was going to spoil it for you. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah, like The Walking Dead, for me and my wife, we don't normally watch on Sundays. We watch it during dinner on Monday evenings, and then we catch up with The Talking Dead when it's on. And obviously, no one at my wife's job happens to talk about it. And of course, I'm retired, so the only person I could blame for myself if a spoiler is because I go to social media and ruin it for me. But I don't do that. I want to talk about episode 9, because it's been making a lot of headlines. There was a lot to unpack in this trailer. I think that, if you didn't know, J.J. Abrams is directing the 9th episode within the Star Wars trilogy times 3. It's the end of the Skywalker saga, which is, I think it's a long time coming. Obviously, we know that Leia is even though she passed on, but before they could start and finish this film, she is gonna retain her role as Leia. And I'm not sure what's going to happen in the film, but there really is a lot to unpack here. But my opinion is I'm excited for the film. I'm excited because, again, it's Star Wars. I think that Star Wars as a brand has to redeem itself. I think that after Episode 8, a lot of people were let down. Some people love that film. Some people will put that flag in the ground and be like, you know what? I don't care. I loved Episode 8. And if you are one of those folks, I can't argue your opinion. That is, you're entitled to feel that way. I thought it was mediocre for Star Wars.
Yeah, that was what I was saying. The thing about Episode 8 was not only was the plot holes, right, that just didn't make sense for me. Why is it that this character who you've built so much suspense around, especially with the latest one before Episode 8, Episode 7, why is it that Snoke was such a letdown?
Yeah, he was a little weak.
Wasn't that concerned? Yeah. I'm like, he was the first ever to project Force lightning. Remember, when he did Force lightning on Kylo Ren, when he got in his face, he didn't just shoot it out of fingertips. He made it deflect off the ground. That was something we never seen before, stuff like that. He had the ability to connect minds across the galaxy. Remember, he did that. He made that connection between Rey and Ren.
Yes.
So obviously, he's got some power that we never seen before. Obviously, he's more powerful than this, but the way they did his exit just didn't make sense to me. So you're claiming that you can sense your apprentice's emotions, right? You can tell you can read his mind, but you don't see a lightsaber literally 5 inches away from you turning in your direction, and then it ignites.
Yeah, but didn't they distract him to get that to happen? I'm sorry, right? Because I sat there and I lapped up that I drank that Kool-Aid off of that whole episode. It happened how I wanted it to happen. It gave me that visceral feel. It yanked emotion when it was supposed to. It did things that it corrected in the last episode to this episode as the march goes on forward. I thought that judge these movies until we get the whole trilogy and we can sit there and we can binge watch them like we did Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Right? Because we watch one Lord of the Ring and you left on a cliffhanger and you're like, man, they write these things in storyboards all out. Books all out. But we're getting
I gotta ask you a question though, David. You remember? Okay, so you remember you said you gotta drink the Kool-Aid. So let's get into one big massive thing here. Remember when Luke was basically projecting himself?
Yes, sir.
Across the galaxy.
Yes.
How is it? Remember, this is projection, it's not him.
Right.
How is he physically able to touch, give items, and all this stuff? You know. And then
okay.
That didn't make sense because remember when Kylo Ren stabbed him, the projection, and he basically said, "If you strike me down," I'll basically said what Obi-Wan said in the beginning.
That's
you strike me down,
Come on, man.
Yes,
let's go. I drank that Kool-Aid.
You said that. I get what you're saying there, but then Kylo Ren, when he entered the base, right, and he goes through the room and he picks up I forgot what it was, but it was basically it was from Han Solo. It was like a little object that he picked up, right? And it disappeared.
Right.
That right there just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, well, Luke is already gone. He's already passed on into the other world as a Force ghost.
Right.
So how is he doing that now? You know, just like with Yoda, when we saw Yoda, since when do Force ghosts have the ability to project lightning down?
Well,
they never. Yeah.
As we start to understand, because when we read the books, if everybody read the books, we always are led to believe that the dark side is far more stronger than the light side. But you've never got a chance to see the ultimate Jedi or gray Jedis and stuff like that inside these books. They're giving you we are
perfect balanced warrior would be
right, kinda. What I'm trying to say is, can digest. We can digest a hell of a lot. We can expand our mind a hell of a lot, but certain audience members won't be able to wrap their head around certain concepts. So they give it to us that it can be palatable across the boards. Now, remember, this is not like a la carte, because if it was a la carte, then you would have a hell of a battle in the end, and you would have made sure that he didn't see that, or he would have saw that blade coming, and he would have deflected that blade, and that battle would have been drawn out, because you want Snook to be this super omnipotent character that he claimed to be, and that you were led for him to be. Right. But they couldn't draw out the battle. They had to show you exactly how powerful she was.
Yeah, I understand, right? But I'm talking about like the ghost in general. Because remember when Luke went to destroy the library, and literally he was going to do it. Yoda was like, "I'll do it for you," because these books are not necessarily needed anymore. Rey is naturally gifted. That's basically what he was just implying.
Right. So
she's naturally gifted.
Who's to say after they go on into the next life can't be physically felt? Because we always saw projections of fallen Jedi.
Oh yeah, of course. Qui-Gon Jinn continues to make appearances.
Exactly. They're always able to project themselves into our reality. Who's to say that if with that same projection they cannot sonically touch and move items in a manner that looks physical to us, that is beyond our comprehension?
I see what you're saying, because I remember, wasn't it? Then we saw Darth Vader. Like, we heard we heard him breathing when Kylo Ren was talking to the melted mask. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, they're like, it's like pieces of them, even though they're not there, they're kind of like beings now. Even with Darth Vader, because let's be real, Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker are not the same person. They're two different,
two different entities.
It's already been established. Darth Vader is a person built out of anger and just constant frustration and rage, whereas Anakin was the legit true prophecy. And that never actually happened because, obviously love was the reason. But, I think it was part of it was all part of a circle, because Luke was meant to bring that good back out of him so he can bring balance. So really, Luke was never really the catalyst to bring balance to the Force. He was just an instrument to help, things fix
along,
itself,
so to speak.
Yeah, fix itself.
Well, listen, real quick, what I want to do is, before we move on to like the meat and potatoes of today's episode, which of course is going to be the Spider-Man controversy, I just want to close out the Star Wars topic with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that was announced and confirmed.
Oh my God.
Okay, because first of all, we have to. I want to set this up because there are a lot of people. We have 75 people watching live, and I want to thank everybody for being here. Really, I truly do, because wow. You never know how these shows are going to go, and apparently movie talk is a thing that people enjoy. I happen to enjoy. I tune into lots of movie talk podcasts. I listen to them all day long. But I want to set everybody up for this because Ewan McGregor, obviously, it's been confirmed that he's reprising his role as a younger Obi-Wan Kenobi. But the way it was done was so classic, so classy. First of all, Kathleen Kennedy comes back out on stage, and she starts talking about a beloved character. You know, the crowd's starting to get, you hear the crowd, right? You know that crowd magic, the people starting to, hit each other with the elbow. Like, oh my God, they're gonna announce something big. And then she turns around and she announces Ewan McGregor, and of course the crowd erupts. But it's what he did that made it so special. And he's talked about it on numerous occasions that he wants to reprise the role, that he loved playing the role. It was an important role in his movie-making career, how important Star Wars is to him personally. And he goes, Kathleen, could you ask me again if I'm going to play Obi-Wan Kenobi? And then she asks him, and just the way he did it, he looked at the crowd with the microphone. Yes, I am. And the crowd exploded. I mean, we knew it, but they still exploded. Again, I say it all the time, folks. I'm not BSing. Talking about it, watching it, listening to it gave me goosebumps then. It's giving me goosebumps now because I'm such a big fan. King, how big of a deal is it to have Ewan McGregor reprise the role that he did for 3 films in the Clone Wars?
It's enormous because you start to get a connection to the characters, right? And everyone wants their character to stay with them forever, right? That person that they made the connection with. And the fact that they got him to reprise that same exact role gives you a continuity and a familiarity to the character that ingratiates you to the series before it even starts. You're already beholden to it because you already love the character.
Yep.
You already loved his portrayal of the character, and he's going to give you it organically and naturally, just the same way he gave it to you before. So, it's not going to be a disconnection. I know they were fearful of that introducing this new show with a changed character. Accept it. You're automatically going to accept this because this is something that you're used to, and it's not a stretch of your imagination. You're just going to continue your steps forward. So I thought it was a stroke of genius for them to do that. I think it shows that he's a great actor in staying and not feeling that he's typecast into this role because he sees the universe and he appreciates the love that he gets. A lot of people get high on the hog and they don't want to stay in the same role that gave them fame. They don't want to stay in the same role that has given them all these fans across the world, and they want to try their hands at new things. Well, he appreciates the love, and he's coming right back to give you more of what you love. And I think that's fantastic as him and as an actor and as Disney to understand that they needed him there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. BitCloud, before we move on to the Spider-Man topic, what would you like to close out the Obi-Wan? Were you surprised that they had confirmation that this is going to be a Disney Plus show?
Well, here's the thing. We're getting ready to get that whole Joker Origins film very, very soon.
Yes.
So
the
I
trailer
think
dropped today. Someone put that in the chat.
Yeah. So this actually makes sense for them to do this because remember, a lot of people have asked for not necessarily origins films of Obi-Wan, but they asked for what happened after the events between him and Anakin Skywalker in the big battle. Like, how has it affected him emotionally? You know, what kind of training did he do to become this ultra master that we ran into before that, and before he eventually died to Darth? Well, before he eventually became a Force ghost. You know, we've been asked for that.
Yes.
But I will ask you guys this though. In the trailer, I don't know if y'all paid attention to this, but there's a YouTuber by the name of Star Wars Theories. He's a great YouTuber. He breaks down a lot of stuff. In the trailer, past the part where you see Rey in that double-edged lightsaber and you hear obviously Palpatine's voice, if you slow the video down by 75%, by 0.75, guess who you hear in the trailer? And they hid this away perfectly. Guess who you hear?
Hugh McGregor?
Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, really?
Wow. You hear Anakin Skywalker. So this is a big thing. This is why I'm so hyped for it. It's a big deal. And it's going to be insane. You know, we saw the Emperor. And now, again, them bringing back Obi-Wan and bringing back the Emperor, it all makes sense at this point.
That's going to be it. This again, J.J. Abrams, whether you love him, you hate him, I think he's a fantastic director. I loved Episode 7. Sure, a lot of people are like, well, they played it safe. It seemed like A New Hope. You know what?
There's a nice blank canvas.
He respects the lore, but more importantly, and I got people. I want to kind of push this point. He respects the fan base. Most directors don't give a shit. He's one of them that actually does. He cares what you think because he wants to make the best film for us. And I think we're going to get that in spades. But of course...
Hey, King, do you think Phasma's alive?
I have no idea.
You know what? You know who I want to know who is still alive that has been looming. Everyone's been asking the question is whether or not Samuel Jackson's character.
Oh, you know what? I forgot about Mace Windu. They did show him in the trailer.
Mace Windu. I would like to believe that he's alive, man, because he just got blown out of the window. You know what I'm saying? He lost an arm. Yeah. You know, it's who's to say?
He was the strongest Jedi at that time. Remember,
yes,
that's why he had a purple lightsaber. They didn't just give this was funny, Dave. A lot of people purple lightsaber because he was black. I'm like, no,
because it's the grape Kool-Aid.
There's actually
no, say it ain't so, guys.
There's a reason why he has a purple lightsaber. Okay, so the thing that made Mace Windu the most powerful Jedi before, obviously aside from Anakin in the temple. Before it all went to hell with Anakin turning into Darth Vader, Mace Windu was the first and only Jedi to create his own fighting style, which is called Sorsu. Sorsu is a fighting style that harnesses the good side, which is the light, but uses dark side attributes in the process. So basically, he's good, but he's also kind of bad, but he maintains himself in the light, which is why he has a purple lightsaber. Basically, blue and red equals purple, and that's why they gave him a purple lightsaber.
A little bit of both. Yeah. That's actually a great point. I didn't actually know that, dude. That is really...
You didn't know that? Yeah, see, he has his own fighting style. Yeah, this is how he beat... Now, for those of you that did not know, he actually beat Palpatine. He didn't... Palpatine wasn't Stalin. People think Palpatine was Stalin. No, he has a new fighting... In his abilities, it's a thing called Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint allows him to look at things, right? There's a reason why they had Samuel Jackson had this dead stare when he was battling. He has this ability to see you kind of like a mirror, right? And the weaknesses would be cracks. He sees those weaknesses in your game, but also while using his fighting style, which is Sorsu, he actually uses your abilities through the dark side, attributes to reflect your power onto you. That's why he was able to deflect the Force lightning and everything back onto him. He was using his own ability.
Well, I'm going to say this: Color Boomstick schooled. I love this because I love this. This is unbelievable knowledge.
This is what I love. See, that's what I like, the versatility, sir. Thank you, sir. I do appreciate
I thought y'all knew this. No, this is no. Why you think Disney came out with that? I forgot what it's called, but they're doing this at Disney World now. I went to Disney World. Last time I went to Disney World it was a long time ago, but now they're doing this thing for Star Wars where you can actually go in and build your own lightsabers. I don't know if y'all heard about it.
Yes, I did. I would love to do that. That would be dope.
It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing, but they're now that's why they have so many cool different designs. I'm thinking they're going to add more to it as they get through the years, like black crystals, purple lightsaber. I think they already have that stuff, but they're doing stuff like that to let you build your own lightsabers. But they're really testing your knowledge there in Disney World, so you can create your own dream lightsaber.
That is amazing, sir. I have learned something right here with you right now, because I was going into how I love they had Rey side. I don't know if it's a vision.
I don't think that's her. I think it might be a clone, because
I think it's a clone also. I agree.
Remember how we saw all that legion of clones? They were doing that same gesture.
Yeah.
That seems like a vision that might have been projected to her by a known entity.
Man, I want her to go to the dark side. I want her to end the Star Wars, the Skywalker trilogy, with her doing what Luke was afraid to do. Because when Luke actually went to the dark side, everybody gonna sit here and act like Luke wasn't on the dark side, bro.
Yeah, he was on the dark side. He harnessed the dark side to beat Darth Vader.
Exactly. Well, she's gonna full-fledged walk over, because I believe it's a curse for Skywalkers, and they turn to the dark side. I believe they're weak individuals, as strong as they are.
Yeah, it's pain. They tell you pain, grief, and desire, right?
Yes.
To the dark side. Her desire is to fulfill her purpose. So by default, she kind of is already drawn to the dark side. That's what they also foreshadowed in the Force, not Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi. Remember how when Luke reconfigured his connection to the Force with her, and how she felt the world around her, and then immediately went straight to the darkness, which was the darkest part of the island, and that scared him.
Exactly.
It makes sense. It makes sense. You gotta pay attention to these particular hints they give you. I saw a few theories too. That little, obviously that lightsaber she had that like folded. Which is kind of like a reference to Darth Maul. Apparently that lightsaber could have been Kylo Ren's, but a new version of Kylo Ren's lightsaber.
Well, listen,
look at the way it ignites.
Listen, everybody knows this. I got a couple of statues that's gonna come soon, and of my favorite Sith Lord, which is Darth Maul.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build a little shrine to him.
I thought it was amazing to have him in the Solo film. It was great to see him after so many years. I just didn't like the film, to be honest. I didn't like that.
Yeah, me neither.
But the best part.
It's okay. Yeah, that's probably the best part. But listen,
let's go.
What I'd like to do is I kind of want to move this along to a very hot topic, a topic that has the Twitterverse very divided. It's very far and few between where people are like, well, I'm kind of right in the middle of this. And I know prior to going live, Big Cloud and I were talking about it, and he'll break down his feelings on it. And here's the thing, okay, I want to stress that people are entitled to their opinion. You may not you may disagree, you may agree, you may fall away somewhere in the middle. Someone's opinion is not right or wrong. It's their opinion, and they're absolutely entitled to it. My take on the whole situation is the original report that Deadline dropped, where it was just painting Marvel as this giant villain. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that both companies aren't greedy. But I want it to be broken down, because there are some folks out there that think that it's Disney's fault 100%, and that's not in fact the truth. As a matter of fact, 2 days after this so-called leaked report, which was basically confirmed that it was a Sony insider that leaked this to try to turn the public on Marvel and Disney, if you were unaware, a second report came out that confirmed that a deal was a contract to sign Spider-Man on for multiple more films, to bring Venom, to bring the Living Vampire, and all of Sony's stuff into the Marvel universe, sat on Sony's desk for 6 weeks with no response.
6 months.
I'm sorry, I said 6 weeks. 6 months. Correct. Thanks for the correction. 6 months prior to this happening, and right before the deal went public, Disney doubled the amount. They offered to pay 50% of all co-production of it to allow a better fit into the MCU. So I want that to be known. Now, I know there have been some people saying that, well, Sony can't be blamed for this because they own the IP and they can do what they want with it. Well, that statement alone depicts blame, because that's Sony pulling the character out of the MCU for being greedy. And we also can talk about, you see, I don't think people understand who Amy Pascal is and what her role was when it came to working with Marvel, but more specifically, Kevin Feige. She's the one responsible for for sitting down with Kevin Feige and getting Spider-Man into the MCU. It was her doing. Now, what a lot of people don't know is in I believe it was at the beginning of the summer, her 4-year contract ended, which she signed in June of 2015. It ended in June of 2019. She did not re-up that contract because she took a much bigger deal at Universal Pictures, where she is currently. Now, I kind of want to just turn this on to where the blame, at least in my opinion, again, folks, this is my opinion on it, happens to go to someone called, and we talked about this last week, and I think you guys may agree with this, it happens to go with Tom Rothman. Now, again, if you don't know who Tom Rothman is, Tom Rothman was one of the head people at Fox. He was solely responsible for destroying what X-Men 3 was and Wolverine Origins. As a matter of fact, there have been stories told on other shows that have thousands and thousands of more subs than I do that said the day that shooting was supposed to start on X-Men Origins at 6 a.m., he came in with a separate team at 3 a.m., unbeknownst to the director, and repainted the sets to what he wanted without the director having any say-so, because he was running the show at Fox. He is now slid into the position of where Amy Pascal is currently sitting, sat before she left. He has a known hatred for not only Marvel, but Disney. And I'm sorry to say, this is again my opinion, if you are a Sony fan, if you are a Spider-Man fan, that is the individual that you direct your anger to. Now, I'm not saying Marvel didn't want more piece of the pie. I'm not saying that Disney didn't want more of the $1 billion that Spider-Man Far From Home made. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the problem at the end of the day is it's $2 billion corporations going to war, and the fans, us, the people that tune in for the comics, the cartoons, the statues, the anime, the games, and everything in between, including the movies, are the ones that are going to suffer. But at the same time, someone honestly cannot tell me with a straight face that Sony pulling Spider-Man out of the MCU because it's their IP, because it seems like spite, is not to blame for this. I'm very sorry to say this is Tom Rothman being arrogant. This is Sony being arrogant. And I know I've heard on other shows that even though some people will die on this hill saying that, well, the video game franchise has nothing to do with the movie franchise, you are wrong. Because you and I don't know what this very, very, very big signed sharing arrangement had to do. And if you're sitting with your Sony PlayStation 4 controller in your hand, you think that Spider-Man 2 is a lock for the Sony PlayStation 5 because they bought Insomniac, I got news for you. Marvel is vindictive. Disney is vindictive. And if they can't work out a deal, which has been rumored that a big Spider-Man announcement is coming this week, several outlets have been reporting this. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's to confirm Spider-Man out of the MCU permanently, or that a deal was in fact worked out. But I am going to say this before I get to the two very knowledgeable co-hosts that I have today. During the there was a Comic-Con called the Keystone Comic-Con this weekend, which of course was attended by Spider-Man himself, right? Tom Holland, right? So we know that he was there. When people were lining up, they were specifically told that not to ask him about the deal, about the being out of the MCU, because it could hinder the current negotiations that were going on, and that a big announcement was coming this week. That came from the PR people from Sony Pictures. Now, that was reported upon by a Twitter member who basically reported on exactly what they said. Now, what the relevance of it, I don't actually know. We are obviously all going to find out. But King, I want to get your opinion on this, because here's the thing. We know that X-Men 3 was a disaster failure film. We know that Wolverine Origins was a disaster film. And we know that Tom Rothman was heavily responsible for these failures. He is now in charge of making the decisions for Sony Pictures. And I want to say that I have two questions for you. And then, of course, I will reiterate those questions to BitCloud. First and foremost, is there a chance that Spider-Man 3 falls flat on its face with Tom Rothman steering the ship? And secondly, in your opinion, with the very large story arc that was set up in the first two films, how can Sony make a connected movie when they can't use anything from the MCU? And for context, Peter Parker's love interest, played by Zendaya, if you don't know, if you never saw the films, is pretty much off limits to use because she's not Mary Jane from the comics. She's a character made up in the MCU, so they own the rights to her, so she cannot be used. She's a character that was made up. What are your thoughts on this?
Pretty ingenious from Disney, huh? To pigeonhole Spider-Man in a corner, right? He basically was the whipping boy of Tony Stark. And they used this world that they grew him up in around the MCU. All right? Now, you have Spider-Man, the character, which the last Amazing Spider-Man movies didn't do so well, and Spider-Man needed a rebrand, a reboot, a boost, a one-up, so you will. He needed a mushroom. He needed to get back in the game. Spider-Man needed some Red Bull. Somebody get him some turmeric. So MCU comes along, Disney comes along, and they make this deal, and they strike this deal that is beneficial for both worlds. What it does, it gives MCU credibility. Amy Pascal understands that her future bucks is on the line here, and in order for her to ingratiate herself to Sony in some type of way, she has to make this Spider-Man entity a fantastic one that brings in money. Remember, Sony was bleeding cash. Now, Spider-Man comes over, you know, you have all this renewed interest in characters from comic books. Venom sells well. That emboldened them. Everybody thinks that it's Spider-Man that has emboldened Sony, but it's Venom. Venom was supposed to fall flat. Venom did not have a Spider-Man inside the movie. There was no Spider-Man mentioned. There was no other characters other than Venom, which is an anti-hero who is not as big as Spider-Man. This movie was not supposed to sell. It actually sold. Now you have Spider-Man, which is in this universe where they need to bridge these two, because I want you to understand two things. Had Spider-Man and Venom been in the same movie, that movie would have probably did $2 billion.
Yeah.
So now Sony sees this. They have an opportunity here. The opportunity is set in front of them. They want a universe the same way that Marvel has a universe.
Yep.
When you go to the table, there's money on the table. There's greed on the table. I don't care who you are or what you do. But when you're in a situation when other people are checking your pockets and looking at their pockets and counting your coins, and they want their coins to be more enriched, there becomes a division. Is interjected. Money is the root of absolute all evil. So you must understand that is the fundamental problem here. They already had an agreement. When the agreement ran out, the one person said to themselves, how can we get more money? Who wants more power, wants more control? Whose name is being used the most? Kevin Feige's name is absolute power. Have that name being thrown around, you know, don't you think the suits at Sony is like, come on, bro? Like, you know, we're part of this too. And Kevin Feige's name is absolutely gold. The literal term for him is the man with the golden touch.
Yes.
He took a dead Spider-Man franchise and he brought it back to life and resuscitated it to the point that it is the highest grossing Spider-Man film ever.
Yes, ever in the history of ever. Yes.
So if you control said entity, why is not the time right now to capitalize on that situation and let's move forward? So I cannot say that Sony is terrible in this situation. You own the entity, don't give up anything else. You control it, move forward, make your universe, see what you can do. What you see, mimic what you were taught. Don't think they didn't learn a lot from the MCU. They did.
It's funny you should say that because Tom Rothman was quoted in saying, we learned everything that we needed to learn from Kevin Feige and we don't need him anymore.
We don't. But now you have to execute. The difference between watching something and doing something is vast. There's gaps in between.
Yes.
At what point did Kevin Feige have to switch things around or listen to the Russos and work something to fit? In touch, listen, Mr. Favreau in the MCU. If you don't think his little fingers is on every last movie, and when they're sitting down and they're going over it and they're listening to the community, to their trusted advisors, Feige, remember this: every captain successful, he has a hell of a team behind him. He's not successful because one, the captain didn't have everybody in line, and he probably didn't empower the rest of the team. Yeah. So it will happen again. Give it a chance to see if it's going to fail. And how smart Kevin Feige is in entrapping Spider-Man. You can't reference things that they built. So it hurts them in the end, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. First of all, I have to just address someone in the chat. And I normally don't like doing this because I don't want to, hiccup the show in any way. Right. David 2 cents in the chat, who he says, Boom is almost saying something totally different than a guy like John Campea that knows people in the business. Now, here's the thing, dude. I don't know if you're late to the party. I said this is my opinion, okay? And P.S., by the way, I'm subscribed and listen to John Campea almost every day. I listen to his stuff. The guy is a fantastic YouTuber with nearly 200,000 subs. So the guy knows his business and he does know people. This is an opinionated subject. Now, I'm only reporting or reading that what I've read that's been reported upon by the sites that I have name-dropped for this particular topic. So no one is trying to one-up John in any way. He's a professional. You understand? I'm just a YouTuber with a very, very small install base. I will tell you this. If what I'm saying aggravates you in some way, there's two things you can do. One, you could step off. That's number one. And number two, you can hit the dislike button and unsubscribe at any time. Go on Twitter and call me an asshole. That's fine. But this is an opinionated subject, and I think I was very clear about that. Just want to kind of throw that out there. But I'm sorry to kind of pump the brakes on it. Please, King David, continue.
Listen, David 2 cents. I want you to stick around. I want you to listen. And at the end of the show, I want you to let me know. I'm on Twitter. You can let me know if what I felt or what I said was right or wrong. We can have an open debate, nice, a gentleman debate. It doesn't matter. But like Boom said,
that's not like
this is opinion. I don't care about that. See, because what happens is when we interact with the chat, because a lot of people don't, we interact with the chat.
Yeah,
that helps us understand more of what's going on. So I definitely. But you can't debate two people's opinion. All right. So, and somebody that has insider information, Boom tells you he doesn't have insider information. He has what he sees and what's going on. And let me tell you something. This man absolutely blows my phone up with the level of research that he does. So I'm pretty sure if it's written and it's out there, Boom done read it and regurgitated it back to me, and I have to take it. You're gonna take it. All right. but I feel like Spider-Man in this whole is backed in a corner.
I agree. I mean, listen, I agree with you, King. And the reason why I agree with you is because, yes, Spider-Man has 900 characters in that Spider-Man verse, which is a ridiculous amount of characters.
And
but they don't have the
possibility of others.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But what they don't have is the groundwork that was built by the hand of Kevin Feige with the MCU that has 10, 15, 20 times the amount of characters, meaning that the story arc for Spider-Man in the MCU could be so much greater than the story arc outside of the MCU. I'm sure that they're going to somehow try to shove him into as a cameo in the next Venom 2, which is going to, again, it has the potential to be really good. You know, we know who's directing. We know that a big time 9-time Academy Award nominated photographer has been attached to the project. We know that Carnage is going to be in there. We know a lot of things, and it's gonna. And you know what? I mean, some people hated Venom. I actually watched it this morning. It was on, and I watched it, and I actually enjoyed the film. Yes, it was disjointed at times, and not maybe it wasn't handled the way that maybe Kevin Feige would have handled it. But I am going to say this: I think that at the end of the day, regardless of who you think is right or wrong, where you stand, the fans are the ones that are going to suffer, regardless of this of whether you're a Sony fan, a Marvel fan, or a Disney fan. We are all going to suffer, especially if you're not going to have Tom Holland in the MCU. But Big Cloud, I want to get your opinion on this because you did a pretty awesome live cast that I showed up for, and I was in the chat for a little while. I thought you had some really, really strong opinions on it. Please tell everyone what your thoughts on at the current Marvel and DC versus Sony.
Okay, I appreciate it. So anyway, I did a live stream like Boom just said, and my live stream was pretty simple. I kept it. I didn't really go into this from a business perspective. I went into this from a fan perspective. You know, I see a lot of people picking sides, like I do see in the chat and I see on Twitter, right? A lot of people say I don't like Marvel because X amount of things. I don't like Sony because X amount of things. I'm just, my response to you guys is this: none of us should be acting like this towards, really anybody. You know what I'm saying? If we want to hold anybody accountable, it should be both. You know what I'm saying? Not just one. Don't just pick one side and go, this side is innocent, that side didn't do this, that, third. No, both sides were teaming up, right? This was a tag team effort to give us the Spider-Man that we got in the 50-50. MCU. Yeah, this is a 50-50 partnership.
Yes.
The same thing can be said about the video game, with Insomniac Games being at the helm in terms of creating. This is a 50-50 partnership. So you got to blame both sides. There can't be no odd one out. Sure, Sony owns the IP. I agree. Sony does have a say in what they own, right? It's their project. They own the product. But I can also say that we can't just sit here and go, well, Sony can take what they've learned in the past from Marvel and simply just go, snap their fingers like a Thanos snap and have an MCU like the Marvel Cinematic Universe with one film. We've seen numerous films try to do stuff like this, and it falls flat on its face. I'm tell you why? Because it doesn't work. It doesn't flow. You've seen it with Justice League, have we not?
Yes,
Justice League.
Perfect example. Great example.
It did not work. You can look up any other movies. It just doesn't work. And that's the point. You can't just throw stuff out like that. You have to do what I call organic growth. When you saw Peter Parker for the first time and he made his appearance in Civil War, a lot of us were kind of in that, that entry level phase, right? When we first saw him, we was like, not really feeling the suit as much. He might be a little too young, right? But as the films progress, what happened? Your love for the character grew, your investment in the character grew, and that excitement for the character grew. That's called organic growth. The same thing can be said about Captain America. Iron Man, Black Widow, all these characters. That's organic growth. You don't just take that and start fresh and think you're going to be at the highest peak. No, you're going to be at the bottom. And you have to build that back up. So them talking about Carnage, them talking about Venom, let's just be real here. Venom by itself with, I forgot the other Venom symbiote, but Venom by himself made $800 million. Sony's not dumb. They see the numbers. $800 million, no Spider-Man involvement, just one actor, Tom Hardy, and they made $800 million. Already pitching the sequel, already teasing Carnage, but they see Spider-Man and Venom, that's easy going to do about, $1 billion, right? It's going to do over $1 billion. Yeah,
Novad Seller says Riot was the guy's name. Correct. Right. Great save, Novad. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's clearly going to do over $1 billion.
For sure. Absolutely.
No problem. No problem. But my thing is this, again, even if you want to go for that particular payoff, what's the point of that payoff if you're sacrificing the investment of the audience? Remember, we're investing in these characters not just because of just the organic growth, like I said, but we're also investing in these characters because of the love and just the story in general. The story progresses. Marvel does a good job of already planning out how they're going to end things. All they do is just build up to how they get to that ending. That's their good way of doing their films. Sony doesn't necessarily do that with their films. It's kind of like they treat it like just a blank slate each particular time. I could say maybe what's his name? Who did Sam Raimi? I could probably say Sam Raimi kind of built up to an end. The problem with his vision with the third one is because it was rushed.
Yes.
They rushed that out there, so he didn't really get a chance to really build all the way to the ending that he wanted. But again, not many directors actually built to their ending. Not many directors already have an ending made and build upon that. And that's the problem what's going on here. If you guys look at Far From Home, I already know David saw it. I know Boom saw it. They took a character that all of us thought was impossible to put on screen and do proper. Mysterio.
Yeah.
And they made him, how badass did they make Mysterio, guys?
Oh my God, amazing. Everything you saw in the comics, you saw on the screen.
Exactly.
Do you understand Marvel's absolute format? I'm gonna give y'all the absolute key.
Almost done. So y'all see this with Mysterio. Now, could y'all imagine that type of involvement, especially if Sony and them would work this deal out, which I think is still on the table in the future. It might not necessarily happen now, right? Let's just say it's sour grapes right now. Let's just say they're not working out anything right now, right? Let's say something weird like that. I know it's weird, but they're not working anything out right now. It will be fixed later on. The reason why I say it will be fixed later on, once those numbers come in. They're going to work this out eventually, but right now it's a stalemate, and that's what's hurting everybody. It's a stalemate. Whether this big announcement is them actually working out some new deal, or maybe Sony signing on for a TV show, I don't know. I don't really know.
The TV stuff is done. The Marvel put the kibosh on that because of the deal collapsing. So all of the TV Spider-Man, Spider-Verse programs that they wanted to bring, they're done. They're not happening, which is okay. Which is bad for Sony because
so maybe they'll announce the final film then. Remember, there was another film that was supposedly on the table that was optional. Yes. Maybe they worked out a deal for that particular film, and that's the big announcement, and that'll be the final one. So hard to tell what that is, but I do agree with the Ashton Luca, and this is what she said, and she made this good point. She said she wants Spider-Man to be Spider-Man. She doesn't want Spider-Man to be quote-unquote Iron Man. I couldn't agree with her more.
I agree 100%.
I couldn't agree with her more there. I definitely see that as a thing that they were trying to do with Peter, especially with Far From Home. Again, you saw it yourselves. I don't want Peter to be that. Now, technically, in a weird way, right? We read the comics. We all read the comics. We know Tony Stark and Peter Parker are very similar in certain ways. One has a crazy budget. One doesn't have a crazy budget. One kind of is a dumpster diver who builds stuff out of everyday materials and just became a successful superhero in doing that particular endeavor. So we know they're very similar in that way. But for the way they're trying to do it, like, for example, him being his mentor and all that, I kind of get where a lot of people's frustration is with that. So you don't want to see that. So I understand that completely. But, I would rather have Spider-Man be Spider-Man for sure. So, it is. But what's hurt me the most, though, and I agree with you, fans are paying the price the most.
We're the ones that are going to suffer. Thing. Now, I'm going to be honest.
Yes. And this is where I really wanted this to happen, and I thought we were building up to it. I've been dying to see Kraven the Hunter.
Oh my god, that's actually what was rumored I was dying to get what Kevin Feige had. That was going to be the big hunt for Spider-Man, who was obviously outed at the end of Far From Home. His identity is out there to the world, and Kraven was going to be brought into the mix. And listen, all I can say is that if they did Kraven the way they did, and they paid respect and homage to Mysterio, it was going to be an amazing film.
Fantastic. You could have all these mantles.
Right, and what's unfortunate now is even if they decide to use Kraven, even if they decide to say, okay, we're going to do Kraven's big hunt, and he's after Peter Parker, no one can help him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can introduce the Black Cat, you can introduce someone, but it's not going to seem organic, as if he went to someone on the Avengers for help because he just helped with the Avengers.
Dude's talking about how Peter can just magically show up in part 2 of Venom and think it's just going to be cool with no questions being asked.
I don't think it's going to be like that, guys. Like, the doom and gloom, y'all can stop right now. Hold on a second. Just pump the brakes a second. Hold on. All right? Calm down.
I have to do it. I'm just like
Kraven's Last Hunt is an intimate love story in how he falls in love with the spider and he must murder the spider. All right, because he feels the spider is his ultimate hunt. It's going to be his last hunt. Yes. It's going to be him or death. And I thought that was one of the most iconic Spider-Man books. Now, can Sony pull it off? I have absolutely no idea.
I doubt
I'm willing to give him a shot. But see, what Marvel has done, and I don't know if you guys have realized it, how Marvel, everyone to drink the Kool-Aid, these heroes, irreparable damage done to them. From movie to movie, something is stripped and taken away from the character. Find a way to overcome that debilitating hurdle. Last one of them. And that makes it a hero. What we didn't get from any Spider-Man movies was irreparable damage to the character. They built Spider-Man up because, remember, he didn't have a Spidey sense at first.
Right. Yeah, now it's Spidey Tingle.
Right, his Peter Tingle, right? He got his Peter Tingle in this movie. You just got your Peter Tingle right now, and it was necessary for you to be able to Obi-Wan Kenobi it with the blindfold on to beat Mysterio. That was a stroke of genius.
Yes.
Hobbled the character to a point where he can no longer trust his normal senses, that he had to push forward to become a hero. All right. We saw the ignorance of youth when he was duped into giving away to Tony Stark glasses. We understand this stuff, right? We can identify with this. We could not identify with that in Venom.
Yeah,
that's
organic growth. Again,
fundamental
no
problem. Exactly. There's nothing there. The substance is there. You had the fight. The fight was great with Venom, right?
You know what this is setting up to, bro? And you know what's sad? And I just now thought about this, and I didn't bring this up. You know what this pretty much is like, kind of recapping in a weird way. Y'all gonna be shocked when I say this. Batman v Superman. There was no build up to Batman v Superman.
Yeah, that's right.
No build up.
Yes,
none. They just went, hey, did you know that Ben Affleck's Batman? Henry Cavill's coming back. Batman v Superman. Everybody facepalm. How and why? You know, and then when you get into the movie, right? You would think that it was an evil Superman.
No,
as you thought it would be with the statue and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Even with that insane scene, which I thought they missed all the opportunities in the world. Remember how Superman had his own militia with the Superman insignia? Y'all remember that?
Yes.
What did you thought immediately? What immediately came to your mind with that? Me, I thought Bizarro.
I know. Immediately, I thought Injustice: Gods Among Us. I thought of the storyline.
There you go. Superman's a tyrant. There you go. He's a tyrant.
I thought that Darkseid got a hold of him and did what it's supposed to happen in the books. Darkseid actually kidnaps the Kryptonian and actually turns him over to Darkseid's way, and he actually comes back to dominate mankind. I understand that was supposed to happen. I understand Zack Snyder's full vision of the universe, right? Even though some of the stuff was wacky, raping Batman, I'm not cool with that. I'm not on board with raping young Batman. That's not my thing. But that was his goal, to realize his goal. So if you're going to let a master director direct, let him direct.
Exactly.
Happened that we didn't get a chance to get those movies. So, okay, he was interrupted.
Yep.
Boom. That this guy, the head of Sony's film division, that is actually overseeing all of these meetings, whose hands is all in this mustard, in control. You just said that they had a shoot at 6 a.m. He brought his team in at 3 a.m. to undercut the director. Pro faith going forward into this new Spider-Man. Yeah. I just want to watch the film.
You just probably want to watch just for the visual, you know? That's probably the only good thing, just to watch for the visual of Spider-Man and them on the same, screen. That's pretty much it. Like, it's just,
like I said, at the end of the day, guys, the real heartache here is that we're never gonna be privy to the contract. We're not gonna know the truth until someone comes out and talks about it. Right now, there's NDAs out the ass. No one's speaking about anything. We hear that they're still at the table, that there's still a chance. When it comes to money, there's always going to be a chance. Right. Obviously, is Spider-Man v Venom v Carnage going to be $1 billion franchise? Probably. But how do you get him over to San Francisco that's gonna be in context with the Spider-Man character? How are you going to get Venom over to New York? How are you going to get Carnage over to New York? There's a lot that could go wrong. There's a lot that could go right. But I'm going to say this. We're going to be talking about this. I don't think this is going to be the last time the three of us get together and talk movies, especially the Spider-Man stuff. It's not going to be an every week thing. It just so happens to be back-to-back weeks because obviously last week was like packed with news, and of course D23 this weekend. So I wanted to come back and talk about what our likes, have different opinions. I want to thank the 75 people plus that were here. Again, I want to apologize for kind of there were a few comments from a guy that's no longer allowed to comment in the chat that had some really nasty things to say about me, which of course are all untrue. And he's been banned. And of course, the last pump the brakes incident. Well, listen, like I said, although I respect everyone's opinion, if you're going to accuse me of something, you have to bring the knowledge and you have to bring the facts, because like King described to anyone that's worked with me in the past, understand that my show notes for a regular Breakfast with Boom or any of the other shows I do are 4,000 words plus. And I spend an entire week, usually up at night, several times putting these shows together. So I don't have any reason to lie. And if I am wrong, I'll be the first one to go on Twitter, raise my hand, and say, you know what, BoomStick was wrong. I don't like to be insulted. I normally do not comment on it because, again, people are entitled to their opinions. But don't come to the show and try to step on it. There are some things that I work real hard, and I do this for the love of this community. That is at the forefront of why I do what I do. Sure, I'm a fan. Sure, I enjoy doing this work. But it's for the love of this community why I work so hard. And it bothers me to my core when someone comes out, and even though it's 7 or 8 words in the sentence, they're trying to to step on what I'm putting out there. I cannot sit back and not say anything. So I apologize for pumping the brakes for that particular 2 minutes or so. But of course, I want to get everybody out of here, and I have to go to my absolutely outstanding guests. King, first of all, love having you on the show simply because your comic knowledge is literally second to none. Love what you do on the Iron Lords. I mean, that's an absolute given. You are really the anchor. As great as everybody is on that show, and everyone powers that show. Every one of your Iron Lord crew powers that show. You are the comedian. You make everyone laugh. Of course, your epic statues always playing and spinning in the background are amazing to see. Please tell everyone where they can follow you. Check out your latest episode of course, your King of Statues, and where they can follow you on Twitter, my friend.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at KingDavidOTW. You can follow me at Iron Lords Podcast Sundays at 1 p.m. until whenever we are done, usually like around 3. But during football season, 11 a.m. To 1. Also, KOS. You have to go to lordsofgaming.net. You can get old episodes of KOS. That's King of Statues. Guys, I have a statue that I have. It's in the background right now. If we have visuals, you'll definitely see it. I have a statue that I've waited for 2 years to get. A custom statue that is absolutely the big bad, the best character, the best villain inside the Marvel universe, and it's going to be in all of his godly display.
Hey.
Yes, exactly. I'm going into this character. I'm going so
we better
deep
see a
dive.
statue too.
Listen, I got stuff for you guys. Trust me, when I tell you this stuff, I have tons of content. Also, I do combat talk with the King. But back to the statues real quickly. Listen, a lot of times people look at these statues and they say they're out of their price range. Yes, some might be, some aren't. Okay, it always is where you fit in works best for you. And remember, you're always a king of your own situation. All right, so your collection, you're king of your collection.
Yes,
so if you collect toys,
great point.
You collect coins, whatever you do it with love, because everyone can see it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's strong.
That's it, guys.
All right. Well, Big Cloud, listen. First of all, again, today you proved how intelligent you are when it comes to this nerd culture that we all know and love. You dropped some massive Mace Windu knowledge on us today that blew my mind, because I didn't know any. I'm going to be honest with you. I love Mace Windu, and I knew none of that. So you schooled BoomStick live. Yeah, live on the air.
I never heard of Shatterpoint or the reason why he got a purple. Wow, that's crazy. I'm shocked.
Well, no,
because it was black and like grape Kool-Aid.
No,
I'm sorry.
W believe that, but no. Again, like I said, he was. That's why you think, like, they even tell you in the VIP close to those scenes. Remember, like, on the council meetings, remember how he always had this evil look, but it was like preserved. Yes. They did that on purpose, man. He harnessed dark side energy. But if you want the full scope and more detail on it, check out. He's a great YouTuber. His name's Star Wars Theory, David. I highly recommend you check him out. Like, he has crazy theories. He even did a whole crazy story arc where it's a what if, kind of like Marvel's doing, where it's basically what if Anakin Skywalker was trained by Darth Maul.
Oh,
and
what?
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Man. You know what? You got to send me a link for this, because now I'm gonna have to buy this.
Yeah, I'll put it in the whole. You want to put it in the chat, or you want me to put it in the Discord?
Either or. You can put it in. You can actually just do it in the DM, wherever you want. If you want to put it in the chat, by all means, please go right ahead. But more importantly, what I like doing about having guests on, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. And you have some incredible comic knowledge, but you also have amazing gaming content. You're on several shows. You bring a real sense of knowledge to these shows that you're on. You host one, you co-host another. You have an amazing YouTube channel. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. But more importantly, check out and sub. You're really expanding. Congratulations again on that 5,000 subs for your amazing YouTube channel, dude.
Thank you so much. I'm Big Cloud Gaming. You guys can find me on YouTube at the same name. A few comments in the chat, so you guys can click on if you want. I host the RGT podcast. Now, we usually do this on Fridays, but me and my pretty much my brother / business partner, Foster Games UK, decided to do until everything is situated with his PC. We decided to merge the Gamer Couch podcast, which is a podcast that he hosts on Sundays. We decided to merge that with the RGT on Sunday. So instead of us doing it on Friday, we're doing super shows for y'all on Sunday. We did our first ever super show just 2 days ago. And it was by far our best show that we put on in a long time. We've had just endless fun. But Sundays, you'll catch us at 5 p.m. Eastern time for the Gamer Couch / the RGT / Gamer Couch Super Show. It's a good time. Also, on Twitter, you can find me at Big Cloud Gaming. You can continue the conversations, ask me whatever, anything you want me to talk about, all that. You can definitely hit me up personally there or in our official Discord. It's on the channel as well. But I like to talk gaming, man. I like to definitely, reach out to more and just have a good conversation. I understand that, it's a lot of people are in this kind of console war like mentality. How I've actually entertained it. Boom will tell you I've entertained it quite a bit.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I mean, listen.
At the end of the day, it's a hobby that we all share as one. It's a hobby that we all love as individuals, and it really should not come down to hate in that particular regard.
Absolutely, hate is always wrong, regardless.
Hate is always wrong. Yes. Hate doesn't make this a hobby. It makes this kind of a cult. If you think about it, you know what I'm saying. If you love gaming, then you love gaming. Right. You should be able to accept an opinion. You should be able to take an opinion. You should be able to discuss something and just, move on. It shouldn't be about a battle of words between this particular thing or a battle of insults because of a difference of opinion. And this is what I welcome on the RGT. I welcome all gamers from all sides.
Yes, me too. And, that's paramount on all my shows. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome.
Everybody's welcome to talk, have a good discussion, and just have a good time. And that's what I think is missing in this community is that choice of just coming up and just having fun, and that's really what's lacking in this community. It's more or less a hate fest instead of just appreciation of what we all have as a whole. So that's basically where you can find me on YouTube.
Listen, it's great to have you both of you guys on. Really appreciate it. Before we get out of here, just got to thank JD Gamer with the outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. He says, I was late, but I'm sure you all did a great show as usual. Yes, JD, I hope that you enjoy it. Lots of back and forth, a lot of different opinions. And I just want to close the show with this, like I do most of my shows. 2 things that my dad taught me when I was really young. 1, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. And more importantly, treat people how you want to be treated. And I guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Thank you for the chat being the chat. You guys are always awesome. Thank you for the generosity in fact, the super chats. And of course, thanks to my outstanding panel. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk soon.